everybody, welcome to OnPodcast, the podcast for On Microsoft, where we talk about Microsoft stuff on a podcast. It's a lot of ons and Microsoft stuff, as we do every time we start this podcast. So I think we stuck in 8 mentions right there, right off the bat. I'm trying to get
I
to 11.
I think for every episode we're on number 28 now. You should add like 28 ons to the introduction.
Yeah, exactly. Well, welcome to the On Podcast for On Microsoft. There we go, two more. I am your co-host, Kareem Anderson. I'm joined by the world's greatest co-host.
Arif Bacchus.
Yeah, and we're here to bring you another week's full of Microsoft news. Some of it being uh, Xbox related, some of it being outages, some of it being new HoloLens information. But with that being said, we'll just get to the more specifics of the rundown. I'll let you start.
Yeah, so the first topic is something that made headlines. I saw it on the evening news here in New York City, where they talked about how Microsoft snagged a big contract with the U.S. Army for HoloLens, to use HoloLens in the Army. So that will be our first topic of discussion. And then secondly, we'll be talking about some issues that Microsoft had with their servers once more. A couple weeks ago, we talked about how Xbox went down. But on April Fool's Day, funny enough, pun intended, Microsoft had some DNS server issues that impacted Teams, Azure, Xbox, Windows Live, Hotmail, and pretty much everything across Microsoft 365. So there's that. And I'll let you get into the third topic because I know it was something that you wrote about last year at Build 2020.
Yeah, Microsoft finally has gotten around to releasing its first production-ready release of Project Reunion, version 0.5. So not even ready for full version 1 yet. So it's still rough beta waters out there. But we'll get into more specifics on what this is designed to do. And it's big news, and it's interesting that it's coming ahead of Build because I'm sure it'll tie in bigly, to use a phrase, into how Microsoft kind of navigates Build next month.
Usually, I'm the one that
That was
does the
the other news.
segues, but you're gonna handle the segue for the fourth topic.
Yes, which is Build 2021, our big, probably one of our biggest headlines again, aside from the dollar price for the U.S. Army contract, is Build. We finally got some confirmation on when it is, and now we are going to wildly speculate about what it's going to be about in the upcoming week.
And then, before we jump into week ahead, I do want to announce the winner for the YubiKey giveaway that we promised. I did not forget
Yay!
this time. The winner is
He
Gabriella.
almost forgot.
Is Gabrielli, Gabrielly. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong, but I'll reach out to you via email and check your email for us because we want your shipping address to get YubiKey your way. But now, time for the week ahead preview, where we'll be talking about MLB The Show 2021 finally coming to Xbox Game Pass. I mean, it was coming to Xbox for the first time as a non-Sony exclusive game, and now it's coming to Xbox Game Pass. So we have some chat about that. And you last week there was no dev channel branch build, so we got that covered this week. Probably talk about what we expect, and then I know you follow Microsoft closely, and there were a little bit of a shakeup internally at Microsoft.
Yeah, it looks like the CVP for commercial partners, Gabriella, Gabriella Schuster steps down. Again, we don't know what to make of it just yet. It could just be someone who's looking for a different career opportunity. It could be something as small as that, or it could be something as huge as Microsoft making a conscious decision to kind of shift management for a better return on investment, so to speak. And then we're going to talk about your review. I think you got some hardware stuff. We always have hardware to talk about.
Yeah, Dell sent us over their Dell 27 conference monitor. This is a Microsoft Teams specific monitor. So far, it is the only monitor that has a Microsoft Teams button built in, where you click the button and it launches Teams automatically. So yeah, I'll give you a preview of that upcoming review. But now I'll let you get started with the big news, which is Microsoft snagging a big $21.88 billion contract with the U.S. Army.
Yeah, I had wrote about this. I think it came in late Friday actually. That Microsoft, as you mentioned, was able to get a 21 get a contract for production use or production making of its HoloLens technology for the U.S. Army. The dollar amount that's been kind of associated in headlines is about 21.88 billion. Now, that isn't exactly what they'll be getting out of the gate. This is the ceiling for what they could potentially make from this contract. It's for 10 years, and it's coming after Microsoft discussions and kind of its back and forth with the Department of Defense for its Jedi contract. So while they're kind of fighting to retain that, which they did, win, and it was adjudicated to them for 10 billion for that contract for another 10 years, I believe. They were also making inroads on this HoloLens technology contract with the U.S. Army. Now, again, this didn't come out of anywhere. This is a a joint effort by the U.S. Army and Microsoft, and it's been happening since 2017, I believe. And all they've done is basically confirmed and moved from prototyping this technology to actually doing production value and offering a dollar amount. I believe when they first mentioned this back in 2018, when they started prototyping, the contract was for 480 million just to
Wow.
prototype the venture together. And they were assigned to make 100,000 HoloLenses as part of this whole venture process. The U.S. Army was, obviously impressed with the technology, so now they've kind of stepped up and made it an official thing. Now, with that being said, we also wrote about the opposition to this. It isn't Amazon this time. It's actually Microsoft employees who, I believe, in 2018, when this was first being mentioned, or actually might have been 2017, before they actually started producing physical hardware, they were in opposition of this deal specifically because they didn't want the HoloLens technology to transform Microsoft into an arms maker, so to speak. And I believe Satya Nadella went on CNBC News shortly after the protest. Now, again, it wasn't a full-scale employee protest. I believe at the time it was about 50 or so, maybe a few more than that, employees who kind of banded together, wrote a letter to the CEO, reached out to people on social media to kind of voice their opposition to this. Again, Satya Nadella spoke on it. He talked to CNBC. He also wrote a long email. And again, these are all things you can find on our website, addressing their concerns and promising that, Microsoft will do the best thing that's in its financial interest as well. And it hopes to kind of right the ship as this technology goes forward. So I don't know where those 50 employees stand as of Friday's news, but I'm sure we'll be hearing some information about that as well. So again, Microsoft got a really big military contract while they are hoping to retain their Department of Defense one as well. Again, if they get both, that's amazing and impressive, because not only does it solidify HoloLens as a viable technology, but all of this will be put on the back of Azure as well as the cloud provider. So it just it gives them more of an argument if they have to be reevaluated for the Jedi contract as well, saying like,
But
hey,
it,
we already.
but it's not just the U.S. Army and the U.S. Armed Forces that are using HoloLens. I think you wrote a piece about it way back in 2016 with the original HoloLens, that Israel was also playing around with it. I'm not sure if it's a contract with Microsoft or if it's them just buying it as a regular customer to use it themselves. But they were playing with HoloLens in the military too as well, and it has uses all over the world.
Yeah, Israel is a pretty big defense um, export for a lot of people. I know cybersecurity, a lot of tech companies go to Israel for cybersecurity and defense. And so it only kind of seems natural that Microsoft kind of views Israel's military as a test bed before bringing it to the U.S. just to kind of, I mean, it's a smaller scale, but for some of the best and brightest in defense being located in Israel, it seems like a natural fit. So Again, this is all just a long process getting from 2016 testing in Israel to getting the go-ahead by the U.S. Army in 2021.
Is this like Doomsday where like they'll have HoloLens and like they'll be able to see through walls and stuff?
Yeah, actually, it really
Cyberpunk.
very much so. Actually, again, I have a couple pieces. I wrote a couple, I believe. Uh, some other people wrote some more, but the actual use of case of this will be to implement night vision, heat vision, among other things. A lot of mapping is involved in this, again, which will be based on um, triangulating real-time information from feet on the ground to people in satellite positions to then relay it to individuals who are on the field again. So again, there's a whole bunch of technologies going into this that are just not the headset you'll be put on somebody's head, but a bunch of underlying cloud infrastructures that need to be run in real time.
And with that said, that topic covered, we'll now move on to our second topic, which is Microsoft having DNS issues that impacted Teams, Azure, Xbox Live, and Microsoft 365.
I
So
was waiting for
this
you to do a segue about like cloud, and if it ever goes down, what would happen to the military? Like with the HoloLens, or they just black out?
they'll just become like useless bullet shields for their eyes or something.
There you go.
That's one use for dead HoloLens units.
Right.
Like the many Windows phones that are dead and out there that are probably useless right now, sitting in garage.
You just had to twist a little bit to the Windows Phone crowd.
You know, I always have to bring it up one way or another. But anyway, going back to the DNS issues, these started happening around 5:43 Eastern time on April Fool's Day, which naturally is April 1st. Microsoft acknowledged it on their Twitter, and they told everyone to stay tuned to the Microsoft 365 page while they investigate the problems. But the problem was, funny enough, that both the Office status page and the Service Health dashboard, where you would normally go to see the Microsoft 365 status, both of those pages were down because of the DNS issues. So a lot of people had no idea what was going on. But as usual, Microsoft is active on their Twitter, and they were updating people on what was going on. And I think it was like around probably 10:30 or 9:30 Eastern time, everything returned back to normal. And they're doing their investigations, and I'm sure that they'll update us on what went wrong, because usually Microsoft is very open about these issues.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like when you have issues and people are like, call our customer service line, and then that line is disconnected.
And that said, we just covered that quickly because it was something that everyone was talking about. Don't have
Yeah.
nothing much to add to that, but I'll
Well,
let you
now that
get it.
it's fixed.
Yeah, now that it's fixed. We're doing this via Teams, so if we were not able to do a podcast one week, it's probably because Microsoft 365 is down and they're having another DNS issue.
And God forbid we use Skype. Let's not even go there.
And we're definitely not going to Zoom.
No, can't do Zoom.
So why don't you get us into the third topic, which is the project reunion thing? I know Microsoft pushed out version 0.5 earlier this week.
Yeah, there's no easy segue for this one, so we'll not even acknowledge it. Back at I believe last year's build again, which was virtual because of the pandemic, Microsoft announced Project Reunion. The project was aimed at reducing the fragmentation between the Windows API and Universal Windows platforms, and help make it easier for developers to build apps on all Windows devices. This is kind of something that Microsoft's retreaded time and time again, where they want to offer support for a multitude of platforms, but also make sure that they have the resources and the tools to kind of streamline all of that. And I believe they did this when they bought what was the big developer tool company they bought?
GitHub. Was it
No,
GitHub?
no, not GitHub. It was like Xamarin or something like that.
Oh yeah. I think that's it. Xamarin.
Yeah, so this is kind of extending that ethos of consolidating everything. It's been quite a while since Microsoft has released a few previews since all of this has gone down. But on March 29th, Microsoft is revealing revealed its first production-ready release of Project Reunion. Again, as you mentioned, 0.5, so it's not even a full 1.0 release yet. So those of you expecting a lot from it, don't. According to Microsoft, the focus of this release is making desktop apps easier to build. The release comes with down-level support to Windows 10 version 1809, the ability to use Project Union with the .NET 5 apps that were developed, as well as WinUI 3, WebView 2, and features will be shipping as part of the Project Union framework package. And again, this is kind of a slow rollout as far as feature sets are concerned, so you're not going to get, a huge delivery in the first week. I'm expecting this to kind of roll out gradually. The more interesting thing about this is that, again, we had mentioned this off mic, but letting you guys in on the stuff that happens behind the screen. We were talking about how this is happening before build. And so obviously they want to seed this to developers so they could have sessions and probably stuff to talk about, hopefully during their keynote, where they kind of lay out the future of Windows development. Because again, I feel like we always say this, they're kind of all over the place. They're admitting this with Project Reunion as they're talking about WinUI 3, Web 2, .NET, UWP, and over the last 2 years, they've been talking a lot about PWAs. And so for Windows developers, where do you put all your efforts towards? And I would personally suggest PWAs. Maybe they'll have something to talk about there. Maybe this will help bring some of those, native features, pull it from all of this Project Union stuff and put it into PWA. Or vice versa. Maybe they take all of these things from PWA and make it easier for desktop and make it a lighter thing. Either way, they need to figure out how Windows 10 is going to evolve and how this plays into Windows 10X.
But does it solve the app gap problem that everyone always complains about, and like having two different apps to do the same thing, like a Skype UWP app and then the classic Win32 app? Does this like help developers solve the problem of just coding an app that in Apple's word just works?
Yeah, that's exactly what this is supposed to do. It's supposed to be able to take all those packages from the separate apps, combine them into one thing that's supposed to be going forward. I believe, I don't think they have a unified name for it. This isn't like Metro 2.0, or I don't know if they're still banking on UWP as like the phrase, but this is going to be the next evolution of whatever that is. And so it should be easier for that. Now, I think we need to take a step back, and we've been, obviously for the last, 10 years or so, talking about a Windows app gap ever since app stores have become a thing.
All right.
I think as more things have kind of coalesced around mobile and the web, there hasn't been a huge, I don't think there's been a big enough emphasis on the how the app gap is kind of shrunk, to be honest with you. Aside from some, maybe like Instagram or things like things that need to be on a phone, I don't think the desktop suffers from not having specific apps. They have everything they need. Like I said, a banking app usually is done on your phone because the camera is better on your phone. It's easier to hold, to like take a picture of stuff like that. Mapping is done better on your phone because you're mobile, you're moving around with it. But if you could think of some apps that would be better served on the desktop that aren't there, I can't personally think of that. I remember I used to follow the narrative like, oh, we need Instagram, we need Twitter, we need this, we need that. I'm like,
Everything is done via the web now anyway. So like you're saying, PWAs are more important, especially with Windows 10X coming and Windows 10X putting the web first and not coming with support for Win32 apps, from what we know from all of the rumors.
Well, and I also think that Edge plays a huge part in that, because
Right.
what people were mostly complaining about was having to essentially fill out information from one app to the next. There was a not only a mental but a physical blockade between like, oh, this is the things I do on my phone, and now I have to go find it on the web or redo it here on my desktop. It's just cumbersome. If I can start pulling, if I can go fill out a form on my phone in the app, and then have that same information pull up when I go to the web and not have to fill anything in, I'm not missing anything. So, to that point, hopefully at Build, they'll talk about that. And speaking of which,
Oh,
segue.
you got them this week.
Yeah, I did step up. But you can take this one.
Yeah, Build 2021 has finally become official. I believe it was Marijo Fali at ZDNet who first spotted Microsoft's public events page, which was updated to mention that Build 2021 will be from May 25th to May 27th. And she contacted Microsoft PR, and they confirmed with her that this is indeed true, and that build will be from May 25th to May 27th. But they didn't share anything about like registration and when people could start registering for it. But it looks like late May is when will build will happen officially. Probably could expect like registrations to open up towards the ending of April or maybe at the beginning of May. But either way, it's free, just like last year, and anyone will be able to attend. And I know you wrote about Apple also doing the same thing.
Yeah. Apple, again, I think believe theirs was free last year as well. What I'm saying is that both are following each other in we're doing a free one. I mean, we're still in the midst of the pandemic and vaccinations for a lot of people or a lot of places, a lot of countries. Not only just the U.S. but internationally, people who are trying to travel aren't where people would like them to be. So everyone's being cautious. Um, Moving the developer conferences to free. I don't know if Apple's going to follow a similar suit for smaller events, like maybe talking about their iPad Pros and the updates to some other hardware, the same way that Microsoft is doing, or if they're going to break out stuff like Microsoft is doing with their What's Next stuff. But at least seeing that they're doing WWDC for free again this year, just following the same vein as Microsoft did for Ignite. They've done for the What's New Cloud stuff, what they're doing for Build now. I believe they're going to be having it. There's rumors that there's going to be a Game One, Surface event as well. So I feel like 2021 is still going to be the year of free developer conferences, which is great for us.
So what exactly do you personally expect out of Build 2021? Could it be Windows 10X or Sun Valley or maybe
Okay.
something new for Teams, like a brand new gold level Teams tier or something?
Um, what I expect and what I'm hoping for are two different things. What I expect is machine learning, quantum computing, uh,
Azure.
cloud support, Azure. I expect to hear that ad nauseum, and again for good reason because it's big and that's what makes Microsoft a lot of money. What I would like to hear about is Microsoft purchasing Discord and saying, "Hey, you know what? We're going to do away with this piss poor attempt we've been doing with Teams Personal." And just move all you Teams Personal people over to Discord. We're going to add some new features. We're going to mix some stuff from Teams into Discord. We're going to have a paid tier for those of you who would like to host your own server, and all of the things that come with the Nitro level packages or purchases and offers. And just we're also going to make a competitor to Clubhouse for those of you who would like to do live, spontaneous gatherings and moderation for those who want to pay for moderators. You can do so. We'll have a tier for that. We'll have programs to train moderation, things like that. That's what I would like to hear from them as far as the communication aspect of their business. As far as Windows, which I think again, I wish they would emphasize that because Panos is pumped this year, and I'm hoping for good reason. I'm hoping that Sun Valley gets some attention. We start to at least see some prototyping of what this new UI is going to be like for the core stuff in the UI, not just a few clock apps here and there. I want to see like what their potential for the rest of the file explorer is going to be, what the new settings could be like, what the new start, if there's going to be different changes to the start menu, stuff like that. I'd like to see, and then follow up finally with um, a few hints about how they're going to tie in all of this to PWAs. I feel like that should be. I mean, I think they're doing a really good job for the out of box experience now. When you restart and kind of I think it's like 4 or 5 clicks and you're into the system already. And I think they're doing a good job of cleaning that up, making it very much like Chrome OS. So I applaud them for that. They're also making it easier for you to set everything up with one essential sign-in. You go to your settings, sign in your account, and all the things that are associated with like your clocks. I mean, like your calendar, your email. If you're in insider builds, all that kind of stuff just kind of populates. Even if you have Microsoft Office 365, that auto populates. So that's really cool. But I also think they just need to basically say here, for PWAs, which I think they're doing great with Edge, sign in again once and you get all your PWAs populated. Most of everything you do is now, for developers, focus on PWAs. PWAs are going to give you tons of features. We're going to give you tons of native tie-ins to this, everything. I think they mentioned this with, it wasn't Project Union, but they just recently took something where you can like make a PWA and get rid of the Chrome around it. Well, didn't we just write about that?
Yeah, I think I showed you that the other day in a chat. I think Microsoft is working on Edge in itself to get rid of the title bars and PWAs to make them feel more like native desktop apps. So it's not like you're browsing in a web page with a title bar up top. It's trying to make these PWAs look and feel more of the same way that a dedicated app would look, kind of like the Twitter app on that you could download from the Windows Store.
Yeah. So again, I think they should hold up Twitter to this new pedestal. And I'm hoping Twitter finally comes out with what is it, their Spaces or whatever, and bring it to the PWA, because that build, I'd like them to say like, hey, this is our flagship app. Twitter is showing you what a PWA can be like. It's part and parcel with the app on your phone. Like once the app gets updated, a few days later, your PWA is updated. PWAs, people, PWAs, not UWPs, not UWPs.
Well, you spend a lot of time talking about build, but we usually don't see hardware at build. Where we see hardware are Surface events, and
Oh,
I know Zach did a piece about how he basically recapped some of the things, all of the rumors and the stuff that he expects out of the next Surface event, which was apparently in January and apparently in February, apparently in March, and now it's apparently moving to late April or May. So, what are your thoughts on these rumors?
yeah, we have.
And this is the week ahead, by the way. I totally forgot to do the week ahead segue.
He was going just straight for the segue, just broke through that week ahead barrier.
uh,
Yeah, I wrote about this. It's basically the same stuff we've heard before, that there's going to be a Surface Laptop 4 as kind of the main focus of this event, with some terrestrial things around it. We've heard about some accessories coming as well, some Teams dedicated headphones, Surface headphones. I think they're calling them Surface
Surface
Headphones 2
Headphones 2 Plus.
Plus,
What's
which
up
I
with Microsoft and calling everything Plus now?
Well, I wonder if Plus is kind of their Apple's Pro thing, where like you throw it, and unlike Apple, which is using it as a marketing term for to upsell people, I think Plus, at least for Microsoft, is going to start being delineated as their enterprise stuff that only that's sold in bulk or wholesale to enterprise people with an enterprise focus will make sense. So like the Surface Pro 7 Plus, with the removable hard drive, some other tweaks to the GPU and stuff like that for more enterprise level operations. These headphones, again, with Teams focused, they're not going to be finely tuned for sound like the Xbox ones, perhaps, and they're not like the regular commercial ones where they have all these, probably all the same machinations of touch controls and things like that. This is just going to be, you buy your Surface Pro 7 Plus with your Surface headphones, uh, 2 Plus, and you have yourself a Plus environment for work. So, and then hopefully going forward, you'll have a Surface Book 3 Plus that is, just for the enterprise, that'll power like, I don't know, probably maybe give you 64 gigabytes of memory, and you can power 5 monitors. Who knows? But I think Plus is going forward is going to be them. The other thing we heard is that they're going to bring the webcam. We were talking about, again, I'm surprised they didn't call this webcam a Plus, because I feel like this is only for business. But maybe as they move from it, did move things over Discord, allow people to start doing some streaming stuff there. This webcam is supposed to be able to shoot, is it 4K, I believe? So it's beyond 1080p. We don't think, there's no prices speculated for, but it's a Microsoft dedicated webcam. Microsoft used to make webcams about, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that. So they're coming back to their kind of bread and butter with that. The other thing we were going to hear about accessories is the Surface Classroom pen, which is basically the same pen you get with the Surface Hub. It's the thicker, um, heftier Surface pen. It has the same 4,000 and I don't know, some odd pressure sensitivity. So there's something about it that makes it the 2 version of this, an updated version. Maybe comes in different colors, which, speaking of colors, that's the main thing about the Surface laptop, is that it's going to come in a different color, potentially a cobalt blue. But aside from that, it's still the same 2 variants of Intel's 11th gen, AMD's 4000, Ryzen 4000 processors. The design, they said, is not going to be, it's going to be left unchanged for the most part. I mean, I guess they're still sticking with the single USB-C port for some odd reason. Maybe they'll update some speaker stuff in there, but I mean, just all in all, it's just kind of a give me kind of event. People have been waiting for a Surface laptop for quite a minute. There was mixed reviews with the AMD collaboration 2 years ago, so hopefully AMD and Microsoft have figured out some stuff. And I know it's supposed to be a specialized chip for these Surface products coming from AMD, so we'll see what they do with the GPU side of
But
that,
still one generation old and not the latest Ryzen 5000.
which would have made way more sense and would have been really impressive. So good on you, Microsoft, for being too cautious again.
So that covers Surface, but we also have a small Xbox story, which I didn't want to highlight it as a main topic, but
I
still
mean, it is
something.
to you. You're a big baseball fan.
Yeah, Major League Baseball started their season this week, and to kind of fit in line with MLB's opening day, Microsoft came out of the gate with a huge announcement, and they announced that MLB The Show 21 will be free and included with for Xbox Game Pass members, which is a pretty huge deal because previously the game was exclusive to Sony consoles. If you wanted to play MLB The Show, which is pretty popular amongst baseball fans, you needed to buy a PS4. But now I think it's something to do with a lawsuit or maybe something with the studio that makes the game. But they
Yeah,
decided
it
they
was a studio,
decided
I
to.
believe. They had finally come to, they are within, I believe, the last year of the contract with Sony. And
Yeah.
so they've negotiated this new end around because, again, they were leaving at least a third of the market. If we were to believe all of the Sony fans, a third of the market, more realistically, left half the market unattained. So, and I don't know if the sales from Sony alone were bringing in what they needed. So at the end of this contract, they decided that they would talk to Sony and say, hey, we are going to be cross-platform, at least with Xbox, joining the crowd.
Yeah, and it's a pretty big deal because it's free on Xbox Game Pass, and you'll be able to play it on XCloud as well. With when I say free, I mean you pay your subscription, whether it's the $15 base, which for Ultimate, which includes XCloud, or the $10 a month tiers. I mean, I wrote a piece about it a couple of weeks ago about which tier you could choose, but basically 19 million people, which is the number, is it 19 or is it 18? But that's the number that Microsoft last said of how many Game Pass subscribers there are. Not 18 or 19 million people are going to be able to play a game that was once exclusive to Sony consoles. So it's to me, it's a big boost for Game Pass and for Xbox itself.
Well, I mean, again, I feel like this is further confirmation that it's going to be the Game Pass is going to become multi-console. Like you're going to be able to have ideally a Game Pass that works on the Nintendo or whatever latest hardware because it's all just licensing
Right,
and because the games themselves will just be mapped to the same buttons that you have for the console. All they need is a license from the developers
right.
and the studios. So if you can get a Game Pass and still carry over your saves from PlayStation over to an Xbox over to a Nintendo Switch, and all you have to do is pay $24 a month or whatever for it, I think it's a win-win. And again, I'm talking to you, Lauren, that if they were to add another $5 to $6 and just make it a $30 once a month and toss in Discord in there, you get your own servers, you get a way to uh, have a community that you can moderate yourself, play the games you want on none of the consoles you want, and I mean, it's a win-win-win for everyone almost involved except for Sony because they don't have it.
So now enough about Xbox. I know this week we were kind of depressed because we had the big build last week, the dev channel build for Windows 10, which gave us those fancy new
Wah,
icons.
wah. Yeah,
But this week we did not get anything. So do you think maybe they'll be able to fix it and get us a new build next week?
I'm going to be honest with you. I think they're going to probably be slowly giving us out builds until they have one big one ready for after build itself, the developers conference. So I think we're going to get some more fixes, some more minor
Bug tweaks and
bugs,
like,
bug
yeah.
squashes, minor fixes until after build, where they say, hey, here's a ton of new features. And by new features, I mean things that just make the system run a little better, nothing huge. And here's some more design tweaks that we talked about during build. That's probably, I think, why we're seeing the stoppage of build so far.
And talk to us about Gabriella stepping down away from Microsoft.
Yeah, again, I don't know what to make of this story because I don't know. I'm not. I haven't been following her as much as I probably should have, but at least they're saying for the past 7 years, she's led Microsoft's commercial partner efforts, which is huge. Again, that's not to diminish her role. She was a keynote speaker at conferences, is a well-known keynote speaker at Microsoft for both commercial partners and news hounds. So she mentioned on LinkedIn that she's kind of going away. She's going to be doing other things. She mentioned this by saying, quote, I want to thank all of you for supporting Microsoft. I appreciate your partnerships and your friendships and your allyships and look forward to working with you in the future in a new capacity. She didn't say what that was, but we're all just kind of speculating as far as who's going to fill her role. I don't think they've said anything about that just yet. But hold on, I take that back. Um, Again, who I want to give credit to this, Kip wrote about her replacement, which is Rodney Clark, who will become the new CVP of Global and Channel Sales and Channel Chief for Microsoft. But it's less clear what the future holds for Schuster. Again, I don't know Rodney's background. I didn't really know hers to begin with, but as far as like the partnership she signed, but I don't see this stopping Microsoft anytime soon or slowing them down. I just think this is just another VP who's probably been at the company for God knows how long, just looking for some bit of change. And Microsoft is going to keep churning out partnerships and contracts, and signing people to long, extensive Surface contracts and gaining more seats for Office 365 as they normally do.
And
Not
that
to say that
said,
she didn't have a huge role in what's going on, but
she'll
they're a
probably
well-oiled machine.
she'll probably end up back at Nokia and like rebuild Nokia into like the brand it once was before Microsoft killed it.
And then sell it back to Microsoft. Oh, and
See,
history repeats itself.
you said it first.
I'm sure everyone in Finland's gonna come at me on the Twitter.
And the last thing that we have on the menu for the week ahead is my upcoming review of the Dell 27 conference monitor. Dell was kind enough to send us this for review because, we cover Teams a lot here at On Microsoft, and this is one of the only Microsoft Teams certified monitors that you could buy. It has a Windows Hello pop-up webcam. It has USB-C. So I plugged the monitor into my Surface Go 2 and it's able to power my Surface Go 2 and also carry the display signal and the audio signal over. The monitor has a awesome speaker on the bottom, and then next to the speaker on the left side there are the Microsoft Teams button. So if you have Microsoft Teams open and you click this button on the monitor, it will. If you have it minimized and you click the Teams button, it will bring Teams to the front, and it's a quick way to like answer notifications and get to your Teams chats more easily. And I tried it out with a sample call, and the webcam is pretty nice. Wide angle webcam, 5 megapixels, and it's super great. But I do have it in the desk on my office, and it's pretty nice. I've been using it for the last week, and I'll have a full review next week.
Yeah, again, this is our hardware section. So I want to start by saying that I am, again, wrapping up my uh, X12 detachable review. I know I keep saying that, but it was hard to try to put this away. Every time I finished a section, I was like, oh, how does this compare to the Surface Pro 7 again? Plus, so I've been writing a lot about that. I also have my thoughts on the Vessel portable monitor. And I've just been trying out for the last week and a half the NextView video conference monitor. It's the one of the only first Google certified smartphone video conference tablets. It's super cool. It's a little different than the Teams one I got back in 2020. Yeah, back in 2020. It does support Teams, which is awesome, but you don't need an admin to do it. So again, I have been testing out Teams, Skype, Zoom, Slack on this thing, and it's pretty awesome. I'm sure, or put some B-roll so you can see it. I should have first impressions on that, or maybe just a final review because I've been testing it for a little bit. Super
It's
cool
a lot
thing.
like an Android tablet, isn't it?
It's a mix of the Android tablet and the Teams certified hub thing that they had. Basically, um, it is a full blown Google interface on there, so you don't get dropped straight into the communication app. But It's a mix of both, which is pretty cool, and it's super intuitive and easy to set up. So, again, it's a lot of people had to kind of go in around for, I need my admin to give me credentials so that I can plug in straight into this thing. I mean, it uses Wi-Fi as a setup, so you don't need to like jack into an Ethernet cable just to, I mean, I know it's a little more secure, but if you're just at home using it at home office like I am, awesome device. So again, I will be talking more about that. And then the other thing I have is this ThinkPad.
Ooh, nice hardware.
Yeah, I don't know if my like thing is. There we go. Um, it's the X1 Titanium, and I was telling you all day today that this thing has the coveted
16
16
to
by
10.
10 aspect ratio, which is how every laptop should have its display aspect ratio. It's super thin. Like this thing is crazy light. I love the feel of it. It's got this kind of it's not the carbon fiber that you have for other ThinkPads. So that's interesting, and it's a kind of a yoga model, so you can like fold it all the way back. Anyway, I got that this weekend, so I'm playing around with that, and actually have first impressions on that as well.
Does it have like ink, like pen support, like the X1 does?
I think it has touch. I haven't found a pen slot in this thing just yet, but I will actually try the detachables pen and see if that works. I know that it's interesting that unlike Surface, where every Surface pen works in any Surface type of screen, Lenovo does have dedicated pens, and I don't know if that, just to match a lot of their hardware. So I will let you know. Actually, it's a good question.
Yeah, and that said, I think that does it for us. We got through a lot of topics today, covered Xbox, Surface, Microsoft DNS server issues, and some rumors, some big deals for Microsoft. And that does it for me, unless you have anything else you want to add.
No, that's it. I'd like to thank everyone again for their time and joining us for another podcast. If you want to talk to us or you have any questions or complaints, please reach out to me at Mindhead1 on Twitter. Mindhead1. Again, we've said this time and time again. If Mindhead ever listens, give me the title and I will give you conversation. I will find some change to give you.
And you could find me on Twitter at abacjourn. And of course, also follow at on Microsoft on Twitter for all the latest Microsoft news and information.
Yeah, again, have a great week ahead. Stay safe, keep a mask on, and be healthy so we can see you again here next week.
All right, everyone. See you again next week. Same place, same time.